Hello, Grade 9. Welcome to Virtual Learning. Mr. Blue here. I am actually in self-imposed quarantine for the next 12 days. I got back from Oman 2 days ago. I just managed to get across the border before the border was shut. It was shut at noon, and I think I managed to get across the border at 11:55. So I'm really happy to be back here in Abu Dhabi, even if I'm going to be mostly confined to my apartment for the next 2 weeks. So already a little bored. So hopefully looking forward to school starting and seeing some of you guys, talking to some of you guys, and hopefully creating some lessons that you'll enjoy. Um, right, this is going to be interesting. I understand that it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. So we'll just do our best. Okay. The great news for us is that we have finished all of our summatives. Number 3 there on my list is we've finished all of our summatives for the quarter. So you've got still technically 3 more weeks left in quarter 3. We've finished our summatives. So the good news is you don't have to worry about that. Your grades should be up on PowerSchool from that. I put them there before I went away on spring break. If you would like some feedback on that, just let me know and I can send you something. But the grades are all up. A few of you have sent me emails and things with various things. But generally, I guess the heart models, you generally got better grades in. And then secondarily, most of you generally didn't get as good at grades in the heart disease part. Most of you didn't cite your sources. You didn't include a bibliography, which was pretty outlined in the rubric. So that really cost a lot of you in terms of your grades. So you need to start by doing this in by grade 9, guys. But this is something we can work on when we go back to school in terms of citing your sources properly, because it's something now in high school that you definitely need to be doing on every single assignment. That's the general feedback on that. The heart models were pretty good, and I knew that they were going to be slightly difficult, but you guys really, really did well. If your grade wasn't as good as what you thought on that, it's mostly because either your heart model didn't work very well, or it wasn't really labelled properly, or it only had one blood flow direction rather than sort of 2. So that's the general feedback on that one. So yeah, if you need a little bit more feedback on that, just ask me. If a grade isn't in on PowerSchool, it means that I'm missing a section of your work or I can't get access to it. So a few of you used the comic strip builder that you use online. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. But then you didn't provide it as public, so I couldn't see it. So I sent you an email if that was the case. So just respond back to me and let me know that it's now open. I'm not going to go and check it every 5 minutes. Tell me when you fixed it. But anyway, we'll sort that out. Okay. Next thing. Basically, Google Classrooms, number 2, is going to be your hubs. This is where all of your work is going to be uploaded. So, for instance, tomorrow's work or today's work, depending on what time you've looked at it, Sunday, period 1 or 2, depending whether or not you're in my girls or boys class, is all here. So before we left, we started looking at the immune system, how we fight diseases. We started looking at corona, COVID-19. And now we're going to move into how your body specifically fights the disease. Okay? So really, a lot of that is going to come down here. So really, every lesson, you'll click on it, and what you should see is that mostly it will be an assignment. So we're not marking attendance, but we will be looking for work to be completed within a day of the lesson taking place. So this lesson is due to take place on Sunday, therefore it's due on the Monday, the day afterwards. 24 hours after the lesson is what the school is saying is the policy. So for me here, basically I've gone in and given you an introductory video. What will happen next is I've given you a Google Doc to fill in. It's pretty simple. This is our first lesson. And then a couple other additional resources. This one here is a YouTube video that I created based upon that. But really, your work for today is going to be set up there. So you'll click on that and it'll go through. We may as well click on it now, and it will go through all the various different links. So make sure it makes an assignment for you guys. So that'll put it in the top right hand corner of the screen. So if you can't find that, that's where it is. So just starting off with just a bit of simple comprehension there, and then as you move down here, it gets more into the specifics. So the first lesson, for instance, you have to create a comic book strip, and then you'll put that a link, a screenshot, or a photo of your completed work right here. Now the formative, because every lesson now has a formative as a school policy, is here. So part 3 is the formative task. And then you need to read that. So that involves you looking at the similarities between the game Pac-Man and the concept you're going to look at this lesson called phagocytosis. So that's generally how a lesson is hopefully going to work. You get your resources. It's all going to be done through Google Classrooms. You'll submit it, and I can offer feedback on that. Okay, so the other thing is around that is that you can book a Microsoft Teams discussion with me. So if you want to talk to me about whether or not you don't understand the work, or you just want some feedback, more specific feedback on your assignment or the work that's going on here, then we can organise a hangout. That's going to be difficult for the first day, probably. We have a few meetings around work, but after that, you might remember that my office hours between, I think they're between 10 and 12, and then between 1 and 3 every day. So just send me an email and we can book a time. The earlier you send the email, the better. I might be booked in. I have 5 classes. So yeah, and we can hang out. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll see. I'm still learning that one. The plan moving forward is really, at the moment, ADEC have said that we're doing this for 2 weeks. Hopefully that's the case, because I want to get back to school. I want to see you guys. I'd rather teach in a classroom. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So at the moment, as I said, our summatives are done. So it's no big stress in biology. We're not going to have assessment tasks. You're just going to have to complete the classwork. There will probably be an assessment on this material you're learning now early in quarter 4, but we will see. That is all up in the air depending on what's happening. Okay, I understand that that's difficult, but that's how the situation is. Just a few things that I added from the school's concept here is students basically sit at a table. So right now I'm sitting at my dining room table. No pajamas. So, I've put on a nice collared shirt here to talk to you guys. Hopefully, I'm not asking you to put on your ACES school uniforms or anything, but just look neat and tidy, please, for any sort of conversations we have. And just in terms of the treatment of Google Classrooms, I know you guys have been really good about Google Classroom and writing things that are appropriate, and just continue that, okay? Mr. Ugalde is now a member of our class, so he can actually see what's being written on some feeds at various points in time. The final thing is that I'll be emailing your parents when a lesson takes place, and they'll get the day's lesson, so they know exactly what's taking place in the lesson. So, and they know what you guys have to do. I hope I'm not giving you guys too much work. My aim is not to give you too much work. I've got some ideas coming on in my brain at the moment, just about some different activities that we can do. Just leave that with me for a couple of days, and hopefully we'll come up with some stuff. Okay. Nice talking to you, and enjoy your virtual experience. Bye. Stop. Move.